channel, Allorie's Craft Closet. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this awesome split tumbler on this 30-ounce tumbler. I went ahead and already base painted my tumbler with white spray paint. Let me just go ahead here. With white spray paint, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to tape this off because we're going to do half and half on a split tumbler. We're going to be using this awesome black and white buffalo check. It's vinyl from StarCraft. It's from 631 or 6, what was it? I think they just changed their name to 143 vinyl. They used to be 651 vinyl, but now they are 143 vinyl, so I just purchased this from them. We're also going to be using some masking tape and some gray alcohol inks. So this person wanted a rustic wood grain on top, and then she wanted buffalo plaid on the bottom. And then we're also going to divide those two parts with a metallic strip, and then she wants a sunflower on the top part with her name. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to tape that off. I don't want this tape to be too sticky because I didn't epoxy that tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take my tape and kind of lint it on my pants just so it's not so tacky, just because I don't want it to pull up on that tape. So I'm only going to do about 3 to 4 inches. I want the most top part to mostly have her design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pencil and we're going to go ahead and make a straight line. I'm going to show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do is, once I find the height of how I want to do this, I just kind of stack whatever I can find close up. That's a little too short still, so let's go ahead and add this one is about the same. So let's go ahead and do this. And I think I want it a little bit higher, not by much. So I am going to grab my mat here, and I'm just going to pile stuff on here until I get it to the size that I want. I don't want it halfway. I want it a little bit lower than that. So I'm going to go ahead, and once I have the level that I want, I just take my pen, I place it on here, and I take my tumbler and I hold tight on to that pen, and it gives me the line that I want. So there you can see it gives me my line, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and tape off. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tape now, and I'm just going to line that, and that gives me my straight line as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tape, and I'm going to cover over that line that I just created. Gives me my little template, which is awesome. So that's an easy way. They do have other tools out there that you could purchase, but I just do it that way. It works for me perfectly fine. So with this extra tape, I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. And I'm just going to kind of take it and fold it down and then fold it over. Okay, so I tape that off, so this bottom part is going to be that buffalo check, and then this top part is going to be the wood grain effect. Just going to make sure that's really good on there. Okay, just like so. Like I said, I'm not too worried about scuffing up the bottom. It's not a big deal. I can fix that later. I'm just going to put glitter over it probably. Okay. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to use one of my brushes here. I'm going to go make sure I'm in camera because I keep sliding closer to you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and start. I like to hold my tumblers away from me when I do this type of work. So I'm going to start my drips here, and I just take my brush and I go up and down And like I said, she wanted a gray wash for this one, so we're not using black. I'm using my gray alcohol inks, and I'm just going to go up and down, creating this really rustic, light wood grain effect. I'm just going to do that all over the tumbler. Just let it go wherever, and then let it dry. Just make sure it doesn't dry in those weird little run patterns. We want to make sure it is up and down like a wood grain style. So we're going to continue doing it like that. And you can use any type of alcohol inks. I have my own that I created with permanent markers and 91% alcohol. That's what this gray is right here. I do use Tim Holtz, I believe, or Ranger alcohol inks. However, I don't have a gray one, so I'm using the one that I made. And you can really see that it gives it that really nice, light, rustic farmhouse effect. So we're just going to keep going over it until I get it to how I want it. Our next part, we're going to go ahead and let this dry. It dries relatively quickly because all it is alcohol and inks. So they dry relatively fast. We're going to go ahead and pull that tape, and that's where it's going to give us that line. So I'm not worried about where that purple or that ink kind of smudged under. It's going to be hidden with our vinyl. So the next part of this is we're going to go ahead and take our vinyl sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and measure how many inches I have from here. I don't have my little ruler, my bob, but I want to say we're pretty close to that one, and this will cover about all the way over. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut a little bit straighter on this line here, and that will give us the perfect amount, and I can cut off any excess later on. Okay. Take my pen, and I'm just going to go whoop, just like so. And then now I'm just going to cut that. Like so. Alright, so I want to make sure that I have this full square at the top. I don't want this at the bottom, so I don't want this half showing. I want the full at the top. So this is going to be our bottom, and this is going to be our top. So when we wrap it, we have a full square on the top and not that half, because this is going to be cut off. I probably could have gone down to here, but I wanted to make sure I had extra room just in case if this decides that, because it's on a rounded, that it sometimes shifts, that it kind of, you'll see. Hopefully we won't see, but we probably will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my transfer tape, and we're going to go ahead and place that on to there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same piece of tape, if I can get it unraveled, and we're going to now place it around that top part of the tumbler, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure I lift this a little bit more, because again, I don't want it to pull up on that spray paint and alcohol inks we just did. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm just going to now place that tape not right on that line, but against it, because we want to make sure we get as much as that line covered with the vinyl. But we're also going to be doing a silver strip for any of the imperfections between the lines, so that I'm not worried about either. So I have this on here just so when the transfer tape touches this paint, it doesn't pull it off. This isn't as sticky as the transfer tape, and I also defuzzed it, so it doesn't have a lot of stick to it, just enough to stick to the tumbler and that paint without ruining it. So now here comes, fine if it doesn't, and remember I want to work with this side. So I'm going to find on here a spot, and this is going to be the back side of my tumbler. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line. I'm going to line this up the best way that I can. As best as I can. That piece is kind of annoying me, so I'll start here. So I'm going to place that down, and it's going to be my start. Okay, and I'm going to really make sure that that's on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this again, I'm going to lay this out flat, so I'm going to roll this tumbler as I do the vinyl. And I want to make sure I keep it on a safe spot. So I'm slowly going to just roll and push down that vinyl, make sure there's no air bubbles, and then I'm going to continue pulling this backing sheet just a little by little as I go. Little by little as I go, making sure there's no lumps, bumps, bubbles, or anything. We want this to be as smooth as possible. Rustic top, and then we have the plaid on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put a plaid circle, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. And then we will add our metallic strip, and we will be back for the next part. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and all I'm going to do is I'm pretty much going to measure. So I just need this teeny tiny little square right here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this mat somewhere else. So I want it to be nice and flat. And I'm just going to go ahead and measure this tumbler, make sure all the sides are good. I'm going to go ahead and take my pen and I'm just going to draw a circle around it. Just a quick and easy circle. Okay. So here we have our circle, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, take that off just so it doesn't stick. So I'm going to tip it upside down, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that fits on here. So there's the bottom, and then there's that. Alright, so we're going to get ready. So that kind of took care of that chip paint at the bottom. So she's got the nice plaid at the bottom. So now we're going to go ahead and get ready. We're going to cut our silver vinyl metallic strip. That's going to separate this part from the buffalo plaid to the rustic. So we're going to go ahead and we will be right back for that part. So we're going to go ahead today and we're going to finish adding the final details to this rustic buffalo plaid wood grain tumbler. So I went ahead and added a very thin layer of epoxy. As you can see, it's nice and shiny. And we're going to go ahead and everything is nice and smooth, so all of the layers are nice and smooth. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start adding the second part of the decals to this, and then we'll be able to fully finish sealing it. So what I did was I printed out 3 strips. This one is a really pretty glitter vinyl. This is a pain in the butt. This is the vinyl that left that really sticky residue on there with glitter. And then I went ahead and cut out 2 of these strips of metallic vinyl. It's just a silver metallic vinyl. This one is 0.10 by 11 inches, and this one is 0.30 by 11 inches. So it's 50. So it's 0.50 altogether. And we're going to go ahead and apply those to the tumbler. I also printed and spray sealed my sunflower picture. This is done on waterslides, so I printed this out and sealed it 3 to 4 times with my Rust-Oleum clear gloss spray and let it dry. And then I went ahead and cut out her name. I haven't decided which one I would like, more of a modern or more curly, so we'll see once we get it together. So we're going to go ahead and apply the next step to the tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and just simply grab my tumbler. I'm going to start on the back side, and my back side is right where you can see the seam of where the burlap, not the burlap, sorry, the buffalo check lines up here on the back. So that's going to be our back point, and that's where we're going to start all of these strips. So I'm going to start off with my small strip, because how it's going to look is we're going to have it just like this. So it's going to have this type of design on the tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my small 0.10 silver metallic strip. I'm going to peel it just a little bit and then fold that backing so I have a little bit to work with. And I'm going to find the backing of my tumbler, and I'm going to put that on the in between. I'm going to keep this centered with the center line here of where the buffalo check meets the wood grain. So starting at the back seam, I'm going to go ahead and place that vinyl, and I'm just going to pull that backing off as I go, making sure I keep it in a straight line. I just want to make sure I'm pulling taut as well on that vinyl. Oop, I pulled it a little too much here. So let's back up. There we go. So I'm just going to place that right in the center and use that line as my guide. So I'm going to pull nice and tight, slowly, and just kind of keep pulling and spinning my my cup. Guys, I can't even talk. It's one of those days today. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep on peeling that vinyl and the backing off, making sure I keep that vinyl centered with that line here. And then once we get to the back, we want to make sure that it lines up with the other piece, just like so. And before I cut it, I'm going to spin it, make sure it's pretty straight as possible. Okay, so then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to cut off any of that excess. I do cut a little bit overlapping, so this way it's safe than sorry than cutting off too much and having a gap. Okay, and I'm going to press that down, and that seam is now right there, and you can barely see it, and it's with the same seam of where the buffalo check ends. So you push that right down, it's good to go. The next part is it's going to be this one, and we're going to make it a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this off here. And this one I have to be very careful with because I messed it up the first time and I don't want to have to clean the cup again. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap between this strip and this one. So we have just enough gap in there just to give it some depth. And I'm going to spin it around, making sure it's good. And I'm just going to go ahead and press that vinyl on there really well. And then we're going to go ahead and take the second one, and we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to take our third strip, which is the 0.10 by 11. And we're going to do the same thing, pull that back a little bit, and then we're going to apply that to the tumbler the same way. Again, leaving a big enough gap as well, starting at my seam here. So there we have it. So we have the buffalo plaid, and now we have our stripes separating. It looks super cute. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and find the front. So here is our back seam with all three of our vinyl strips, and then the backing of the seam of the buffalo vinyl as well. So we're going to go ahead and pretty much do that. I kind of place it, and then I kind of make this my front. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this is very clean. I'm going to go ahead and put this here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this here so that doesn't move. And then I'm just going to re-clean that front with some alcohol, getting off any marks, doodads on here. We want to make sure that this is 100% perfect. We're going to take our water slide, which she chose a sunflower, and we're going to go ahead and place that sunflower right on here. And then we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to mess around because I don't know how I want her name to go. So I'm just going to kind of take a look and see how I want it. So that's how it would pretty much look with her name on it. So we have this really cursive font. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and apply that water slide. So I'm going to go ahead and stand this up real quick. And I'm just going to grab my little watering bowl, my little squeegee, place that right in there. And then I'm just going to grab my water. And I'm going to soak that water slide just for a minute or so until it's ready to move off of the backing. I'm going to flip it this way. And while that's soaking and getting ready, we're going to go ahead. I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to just use this one because I really do like that one. I'm going to go ahead and apply my transfer tape to that. I'm just taking my transfer tape here, and I'm going to cut out a big enough section to cover that. Alright, so we're going to get that part ready. And I'm just going to place this down here. And I'm just going to make sure that my decal is nice and burnished. And I just flip it over, give it a good little scrapey scrape. And then make sure that it all comes off, which it does. Leave that on there for now. And then we're going to go ahead and see if this is ready. Like I said, this only takes about a minute or so to soak before it starts sliding off the back. So the more layers of paint sealer you use, the clear sealer, a little bit longer it takes. I do mine about 2 to 3 times. But it's almost there. It's almost ready. Alright, so it's about ready because as you can see, it's starting to slide off the paper. So I'm going to leave that right in there for a second. And what I'm going to do is I always add water to the surface that I'm putting it on because this helps give me some leeway to moving around to where I want it, where you just put it on a dry surface. You can't really move it around much. So again, I'm going to find that backing part, which is right about here. Okay. I'm going to put it here, and I'll be able to move that in just a second. So I'm just going to keep this nice and sturdy. And I'm going to grab my water slide, and I'm just going to line that right up to the top. And then I'm going to slide it out. I kind of just hold my hand there. Slide it on out. Simple and easy. And then I'm going to stand it up at an angle and just kind of move it. I don't want to put it all the way up to the top of the cup, just close enough where it still gives me a rim. And then I'm going to look, see where my back spot is. So the top of my flower, that is about right. So then I just take my squeegee, I kind of wet my little squeegee here, and I hold on to the bottom of it and I just squeegee upwards. Okay, squeegee. And then I just kind of work my way out and remove all of the water underneath that water slide so it can adhere to the tumbler. Okay, then I kind of would do my side, middle, center to out. And then I work my way out this way, center to out. And you want to be really careful that once this starts to dry, you'll hear it start squeaking, and that's when you want to stop squeegeeing because that's when it's on there well, and you could possibly start to stretch your water slide. Okay, so I'm just making sure it's nice and squeegeed out. Just like so. Okay. So then I'm just going to take my little coffee filter here, dry off that excess water that's dripping around. Just like so. And you can kind of just carefully pat that. I have a little air bubble right there. Want to make sure that I get that out because you'll see it. Okay. We are good. So the water slides on. So there's that part, and you see I left enough of a lip on the top so this way we don't have to worry about the epoxy not being able to seal to the tumbler correctly or having to sand and it ruining or the lid. I always leave a small tiny gap at the very top where I put my water slides. So there's that so far. So I'm just going to peel this decal back. Okay. And I'm going to find a quick place where I want it to go. And I want it to be centered with, and this should be almost the same size as the sunflower. So we're going to go over a little bit and see. So we just want to make sure that we have it pretty well centered. So that's the beginning of the K. So we do it there and about there. So as long as we have it lined up with that bottom, we will be good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place the K up here. And now I'm going to peel off the backing, but what I'm going to do to protect that sunflower is I'm going to place the transfer tape on there and make sure I pull this nice and taut. And I'm going to re-stick that on there and then kind of just pull, make sure this is on there, just like so. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my razor blade here because my nails are too long. Lift up that edge, and I'm going to take it from the corner. And I'm going to lift it from bottom up. So this way, I can peel it right off of that. See, even though that decal is on that backing paper, all I got to do is remove that backing paper. And there we have it. Okay. Alright. Make sure that's all on there. And she doesn't want anything else on it, just something simple and elegant. So I'm just making sure that's nice and on there. And there we go. So that is the Buffalo Plaid rustic wood grain sunflower tumbler. And what I'll do is I'll final coat it with epoxy and I will show you what it looks like when we're done.